Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing? Man, Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Man, Antonelli here. So, Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association have a deal. The players have already voted on it. The owners are expected to ratify it today at noon, so very, very soon. And this is a really good sign, a path forward, so that we can hopefully get some baseball going at some point soon. I have a bunch of notes right here. Jeff Passan, Joel Sherman, both have talked a lot about this on Twitter. I took down a bunch of notes. I want to go over everything, give you the details of exactly what's going to happen. Okay, and we have a good amount of details here. Okay, so first thing, that Major League Baseball owners will advance $170 million to the players for April and May. Okay, $170 million. Now, if there's no season, if for some reason we don't play baseball at all this year, which would be horrible, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But if there is no season, then that $170 million will be kept by the players, okay? It is non-refundable, okay? Now this is really key because if for some reason it's canceled completely, the owners don't owe the players any more than that $170 million. And the MLBPA said that they will not sue for lost wages, okay? So this was really, really important. Now, MLB players typically make about $4 billion in total. So the owners know that if there's no season, they don't owe them. They just owe them $170 million, all right, without a season. So that's really, really important. Here's another really interesting and important part of this deal, is that if there is no season this year, again, if there is no season, then the players will get full service time, okay? So like Mookie Betts and Bauer and Real Muto and Stroman, they're all going to become free agents in November if there is no season, okay? Because they're going to get their service time, regardless of if there's games or not. So basically, your service time from last year, your 2019 service time will be your 2020 service time, okay? So that's really, really important. Also, guys like Chapman and Olsen from the Athletics, they would be arbitration eligible, okay? So they would graduate to arbitration, which is really important also. And this is really important because in Major League Baseball, you don't get paid big contracts at the beginning of your career. So you've got to basically play 3 years. You have to have basically 3 years of service time where you're making league minimum, okay? You're not getting very much money at all. Now, I know you're getting a lot of money, but in Major League Baseball standards, you're not getting a lot of money, right? You're getting like $550,000 right around there for the first 3 years of your contract. Now, after those first 3 years of service time, now you can graduate to arbitration where you can finally make a lot of money, millions of dollars for the first time in your career. And you do 3 years of arbitration and then finally you become a free agent in that 7th year where you can make like you can sign your big time deals. The really good players are going to sign their really big time deals, okay? And now this is really important because if players didn't get service time this year, let's say the season's canceled and they don't get service time, well then that just pushes everything back a year. So now you're arbitration eligible 1 year later. You're free agent eligible 1 year later, which is a really, really big deal in a short career of a baseball player, right? A baseball player, most players aren't going to play a super long time. And so this really helps them make more money and get to arbitration earlier, get to free agent earlier, which is really important. Now, here's another really crazy point or interesting point is that Mookie Betts, let's say there's no season this year. Mookie Betts technically might never, ever play in a Dodgers uniform. So the Dodgers gave up a whole lot of stuff to get Mookie Betts, and he may never even play for them. Now, I'm assuming they'd really go hard after him in free agency and they would throw a ton of money at him, but there's a chance that he goes someplace else. What if Mookie went back to the Red Sox? What if the Red Sox got all that they got in this deal, never even had to watch Mookie Betts play in another uniform, and then he comes back to Boston? That would be unbelievable. Don't think it's going to happen, but that would be unbelievable. Now also, if there is a season, the players are going to get prorated service time. So basically, let's say that there's a 90-game season, okay? Let's just assume that there ends up being a 90-game season. If a player's active for that whole season, they get a full year of service, all right? And if it's half, they get a half year of service, okay? So that's how it's going to work. Now, there's some interesting stuff that will happen to the Major League Baseball draft and to the international signing period, okay? So in this deal, the MLB has the right to shorten the 2020 draft to 5 rounds. Only 5 rounds. There's usually 40 rounds, okay? So only 5 rounds. The draft can't be any later than July. If MLB is up and running earlier, then it can hold it earlier than that. Okay. Additionally, it can delay the start of the international signing period to as late as January 2021. And MLB can also shorten the 21 draft, so the 2021 draft, to only 20 rounds. And they can push back the 2021-2022 international signing period to January 22 through December 22. All right. And non-drafted players would have a cap of only $20,000 signing bonus. Now, the draft is going to be really, really interesting, if this happens, because there was only a couple weeks of the college season, okay? High school season, in our area, the high school season hasn't even happened, and it might not happen at all. In other parts of the country, maybe down south, they only played a little bit of a high school season. So this will be really interesting, because where are we going to scout the players? How are people, usually at this time right now, Major League Baseball teams are scouting players heavily, especially as we get closer and closer to the draft. So we're going to have to rely on what we saw in a very short sample, which we didn't even get to see every player, right? If you're a great high school player from this part of the country, they didn't even get to see you play this year yet. So this will be really interesting, because if there is a draft, is there going to be like a workout? Are they going to take the top players, or the players they think are the top players, and have some type of pre-draft workout maybe to get to see them right before the draft? We're also going to have to rely a lot more on maybe past year. So we're going to take what we thought were going to be the top prospects this year. If you're a player that maybe all of a sudden you shined this year, or you were going to shine this year, you're going to break out and have a huge year, you never really had that opportunity. So there's a lot of questions with how the players are actually going to be scouted to then be drafted. Now, the other interesting thing, this is going to have a big effect on college baseball, because college baseball is allowing seniors to come back and get eligibility for another year. Okay, so a lot of those seniors that would have graduated this year or maybe been drafted, they're going to be able to come back next year. Now, there's going to be a lot of juniors that maybe either started off poorly, or, if there's only 5 rounds in the draft, they're going to come back, because a lot of those guys won't get drafted that maybe would have been drafted and left. They're going to come back next year for their senior years. And so now college baseball is going to be absolutely loaded next year with players and with talent. So it's going to be really interesting. Now, a few more things. You've probably seen a lot of teams have been optioning guys down from their big league teams. The reason for this is because there's an agreement that's been put in place that transactions will freeze until further notice, okay? So no options, no trades, no signing players, anything like that. Now, both sides also said that they will continue to have hopefully good discussions moving forward about, schedule, playoffs, how many games will be played. They're going to talk about double headers, possibly expanded rosters. So MLB is going to propose a schedule at some point, and they're going to take into account, obviously, player safety and health. But nothing concrete as of this time of what an abbreviated season will look like, okay? So that's kind of the next step, and that will be what talks kind of continue forward to be about. Okay, so those are the details, all right? So let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. I think this is good news that they're able to sit down at a table, or maybe, no, they didn't sit down at a table. Conference calls, okay? You can't, social distancing, you can't sit down at a table. But conference calls, they've been able to come together, they've been able to talk through these things, and they've come to an agreement, which is a really good first step. And now, hopefully, things get better with the virus, and we're able to have a baseball season at some point this year. So I hope everyone out there is safe. Stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thank you to our patrons on Patreon that help support the channel. We really, really appreciate that. And that is all we have. We will talk to you later.